Alright, let's see if this works. So I'm just reviewing a game that I played. I was playing black, and I don't even know what this is when white does this move. It looks like it's the bird opening. Um, I don't know, I guess because it's like a Looney Tunes thing. I don't know. I'm sure that's how that is. But I decided, you know what? I've got a plan. I'm going to take the center, and I'm going to attack. I'm going to attack this and attack that, and nothing's going to stop me. And then White comes up with his knight. I come up with my knight, because, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And then he takes the center, and I'm like, what? That's not fair. So I come up with my bishop, and he's like, oh no, I've heard of this. I'm not going to let your bishop get here, which I was like, I don't want to go there. All right. So I seal off my bishop, and I'm like, all right, we're keeping the bishop out here because it can't go anywhere. They're like, haha, you fool! And I'm like, oh, right. Um, where do I want to go? And I probably should have gone here, which would have targeted the knight and at least like had something to look at. Except I guess I just didn't want to because I suck. So I did this, which like he could have pushed, like sure I could have taken, but then like I would have this and there'd be like nothing in front of my king. I mean, it would be like terrible right away, but it wouldn't be great. But thankfully, we both suck at the game. So he just does that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I make myself a little house for my bishop so he can go back here. I guess it's I forget the name of the house the priest lives in, but I made one of those. And then he puts his bishop out here in this fianchetto. So I take out my bishop, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll attack this. And then he does this, and I'm like, oh, I've got a great idea. I'll just do the same thing on both sides, because I don't want a fried liver attack, even... And I said, I'll do this on both sides, because I don't want a fried liver attack, even though I don't think this is the fried liver attack. But I just did it. And then the thing I was worried about happened. So I take... He takes back, and I take, and I'm like, I'm not actually doing too bad. So then he moves the queen down, which doesn't seem good, because then the queen can only move here, basically, or, back. But if I somehow get my bishop here, and if it was protected, then, the only place the queen could go would be right here. I mean, it could block, but I don't like this. I wouldn't like this as white. But I do this thing where I'm like, haha, I've pinned your knight. That didn't work out too well because he immediately castles. And so he's got a rook and queen battery, but it's also not like it's just facing his own pawn, and I'm not attacking his pawn right now, so it's not really like doing much. So I do the same thing here, and I pin the knight to this rook. And he moves the rook out of the way, which is now staring down at my pawn. So I castle, because as you know, you should always definitely put your king directly underneath a hostile piece. And he does this. I think the queen could have come in here and just like... And I could have taken back because of this. And then the queen would just come here, and it would be pretty much... I mean, like, I could like, do some fancy footwork here where I put this here. And then, maybe he would, like, attack here, which would then attack this. And then I could do something like this. And then it takes here... And then I would have to like, I don't know, something like this would happen. But that's not what happened. What happened instead was he just moved the knight down. And so then I put my knight here with plans of maybe attacking it. And then I immediately forgot those plans because he attacked my bishop. And I was like, no! And so I took my bishop back and I attacked this twice. And then I forgot about that again, and then he pushed his pawn down, which protects this pawn, which, I mean, like I mean, it was protected already. I don't know why you double protect it. Now you've cut off this diagonal, which was pretty. I mean, that was a pretty good attack. I guess we both forgot our plans. But then I saw that, and I was worried. So then I moved this knight here to protect this, and then to block this square, which wasn't being. Well, I mean, it didn't really block it, but it was like an attempt. And then he threatened to trade bishops. I was like, no, thank you. And then he attacks my my knight, which I don't notice, and so I do this instead of anything useful. And then he takes my knight here, and I have to take back because it was attacking my queen. And then he has the battery that I was worried about from before, and I'm still hanging, my knight's still hanging, but I do this because I'm like, that's more important, which I think is correct. Because if I had done something like this, then that would have been checkmate. Yeah, like this, and then checkmate. Yeah. So I didn't want that, so I popped that up. He takes the knight. You know, yeah, good for you. I pushed this up because I counted out. Not sure you can see this here, but I took about 10 seconds to come up with this move. This guy took like a minute. It takes like a minute for the next turn. And so I push here, and then, yeah, he takes almost like 40 seconds for this. So I push this here, and I'm thinking, okay, attacks, takes, and I'm up. And this is attacking this king here. So he pushes the pawn, and I'm like, that's not great, but also he'd like have to give up his queen, so I wasn't too worried. But I did say I'll just double defend this, so that I have this and that and that. So then he moves he moves this over, I guess, to kind of like hopefully get this as the free. If he figured if he could like trade these pawns, then you have an attack on the bishop, which I actually was fine with in this case. So he takes. I take with the rook, which targets this pawn, which is attacking this. And I kind of figured I'm still pretty good because I've still got the queen. Oops. The queen and the bishop going for this. He takes. I take back, and now I'm like, oh, and this is check. So he drops down here, and I'm like, yeah, but I can just do this, and I slide over, it's check, and he moves. I take the queen, and then he takes back, and then I'm like, all right, I want to get out of this pin, and then he brings the knight in, which, I don't know, it doesn't seem to do much, but he brings the knight in, and I bring out my bishop and attack his rook. I was hoping he would do this, so I could do this kind of a move. Of course, you know, this is protected, but I was hoping he'd do something stupid. Instead, he does something slightly less stupid. Well, no, not slightly less stupid. He takes the, he lets me take the rook for free, which I do, and then he does that, which, is that a move? I don't think that's a move. Does Stockfish think this is a move? I don't know if Stockfish think this is a move. Who's to say? I think I've turned off analysis here. Yeah, Stockfish does not like this move at all. Yeah, Stockfish doesn't like this move. But also, I wasn't playing with Stockfish, and I was my opponent, obviously, because we played the way we did. So this happens, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like threaten everything kind of vaguely and see what happens. And again, he's down to like a minute 53, and I'm still at like almost 7 minutes, just 7:25. So I attack the rook, and then he drops the rook down, and like it's still protected by the knight, so that's fine. But this is not protected, and my chess coach was like, count what's protecting what. And so I was like, okay, well that's protected. This is protected by that. This is protected by that. But I was like, this is protected by nothing. So I swoop over here, and he doesn't really see this. And so what I looked at this is like, look, if I take this, then that's protected again. And so I took it, and then he just like blunders the knight. I mean, he only had 14 seconds on the clock. We don't have increments, so I take that, and then white resigns. There we go. All right, stop recording.